Hello everybody, welcome to new tutorial Desmos Classroom Activities tutorial 6, and today we will continue to the computation layer to a next level. So we are going to use some advanced level of coding, and the focus will be on random generator. So this will help us to create different activities and self-assessments. So I hope you know how to sign in and how to get started. Check the takeaway from this tutorial. I have a function. There is one button, new problem, and input bar as well. This button will help us to generate new question each time. So if you press the button, you will get a new question and of course a new graph. And so you keep on pressing, so student can practice multiple times a single type of question or same type of questions, and they can enter their responses to see whether it is correct or not. So we are going to use different types of coding today to give feedback and for teachers dashboard as well. You can see now if the answer is correct, you'll get the feedback. The graph will be overlapped and teacher will see the check mark on the dashboard button. And if it is wrong, for example this, so student will see the feedback, and as a teacher you will see a cross sign. So you can guide your students or send the feedback what to do in that particular question. So guys, this is of course not very easy, very simple, but we can do it. So let me try one more question, like 21x squared plus 8x. It's wrong and we can correct it. Minus 10, it's a correct differentiation. So everything you will see the correct graph and on teacher's dashboard as well. Let's get started. So I'm on a blank page, and I can add different components. I'm using a note to give the instructions, math input bar, graph, and a button to generate new problems. So we need to label them because we are using some coding here, so we should label every component. So I'm using note 6, graph 6, etc. because I'm on a 6th slide. You can give any unique name. So you can see input 6, button 6, note 6, and graph 6. These are my labels, my locations. So this will help us to create a unique type of coding here. So first of all, on the graph, I'm going to generate a function which students will differentiate. For example, I'm using a cubic function. So using 4 sliders a, b, c, d. So ax cube plus bx square minus cx minus d. So just press add slider and the graph will be visible. And then let's create the differentiation of this function. So d over dx of fx, and try to make it dotted so that it will not confuse the students which one is the function, which one is the derivative. Or you can just remove it if you don't want to show them. So it's optional. So I'm using a dotted graph with green color, and just for reference. And now after sliders, I'm going to use one function which actually students will use this function to enter the graph, which will overlap the dotted one. So let's go to the coding of graph, and let me show you again. So I am on a computation layer of graph component. So first of all, I need to create one variable for random generator. So I'm using a letter R as a variable for random generator, and each time if I press button 6, I will get a new number. Now the numbers which we have already defined in the graph, like sliders, so A, B, C, D, I want to change them each time I press the button. So R is the variable which will create different numbers. That's why I'm using R dot int. Int means integer, and you can give an interval of numbers like 2 to 9 I'm giving. Similarly, you can have number B, R dot integer, maybe 3 to 9 or 3 to 8, whatever. Number C. So remember these numbers which we want to change each time. Okay, so that's how you can generate 4 numbers. Similarly, number D. And now I need a function which I used as G, because the students will enter this function. So simple function, the location is input6.latex. If you are confused, please watch previous tutorials. It will help you. So please watch previous tutorials to clear your doubts or ask your questions in the comment box. So now we'll do some coding on the note component. So if I click on the note component CL, then I type content. So I just type double quotation marks and type differentiate fx. Now to use the expression, I have to use my numbers which I generated in graph. That's why I'm using a equals to graph 6 dot number a, b graph 6 dot number b. So use all them, and then I'm defining one variable for my expression. Because my a, b, c, d are already defined, I want to use their values. So we have to use very special thing here. So I'm using a double quotation mark, dollar sign, curly parenthesis. This is important. Whenever you want to insert or pull the value from already defined values, so use this dollar and curly parenthesis. So the expression is ax power 3 plus bx square minus cx minus d. But remember to use ABCD in the dollar with curly parentheses. So take care of these two things. Fx is my variable for my expression, but ABCD are again my variables, but they are already linked to my graph. Okay, that's why it's graph 6 dot number A, graph 6 dot number B, graph 6 dot number C. Now we want to use it in the content because I want to show this to my students as instruction. So I'm going to use differentiate fx equals to, use the double backslash and then dollar sign again, because I want to put this. I'm sorry for this blackout, but stay with me. Yeah, so the dollar and curly parenthesis and the variable fx. I'm using backlashes to show the mathematical equation. Otherwise you cannot see in the math format. See? So if you press the button, you can see the expression is correct and the graph is also same for my expressions. For example, in this one I have a -8 my y intercept, and I can check it on graph. So it's correct. And I can enter my response now because I have my input box. So 27x square plus 6x minus 2. Of course, we cannot see the feedback or the accuracy. You will see on the dot. So to do that, we need to create some codes in the input. Okay. So we'll go to the input 6, but before that I'll rename my button 6 as a new problem. Otherwise it was try it. So in the input, go to the computation layer, input 6 and computation layer, and here the derivative of fx was like ax cube plus bx square minus cx minus d. So the derivative should be 3x square plus 2bx minus c, of course. So I need to generate this expression in my input, so that when student will enter, we can check whether the student has entered correct or not, because it's not only one expression, because every time you press the button your answer will be different. So first of all, I need to generate my input function. So I'm using input gx or some other thing. So I have two things to do now, input and key. So key will help us to check the correctness. So I'm defining a new variable, input gx. You can rename it as anything. So I'm using input gx as my variable for students. So input gx is simple function. This is the location, this dot latex, because it is expression. Now what is key? Remember, key is the expression for the derivative. So simple function and two quotation mark 3 times ax square. So remember to use dollar and curly parenthesis, but remember the value of a is pulled from note 6, okay, because it's already defined there. So note 6 dot script, it's always script when you use something already defined from other component. So we always use script. So note 6 dot script dot c or a, please type in the appropriate places. Now key is also defined, input gx is defined. So now we have to define one new variable which you can recall it as correct. So I'm defining it. So correct equals to, we will evaluate key and input at certain values of x to match. For example, as x equals to 0.01 or 3 or 4 or 5. So I'm using two values here because sometimes one value is not enough. So I have defined input 6 dot evaluate at, this is the command I'm going to use, evaluate at a particular value 0.01 should be equals to key dot evaluate at 0.01. So basically the student will enter in input and my input is key, so they will, if it is same, so we can check. So make sure you have a correct and correct. So you can see the preview now, new problem, and we can enter the answer. So 6x square, as soon as you start typing you can see the cross sign because it's not correct. If it is correct, you cannot see check mark yet because Desmos is confused to check the accuracy from graph or from input. But it's easy to do. Only one thing we are missing. We need to go to the graph CL, okay, and make it read only. So read only true. This will help us or Desmos to only check from input. So now if you type the answer, 18x square plus 6x minus 6, yep, it's correct, and teacher will see the check mark and the graph will also match, and if it is wrong you will see the cross mark. So we are only missing one thing now, feedback. Of course it is optional if you want to give to your students. So for feedback I need to go to note CL and I will define a new variable as a feedback. Feedback will use two functions, when and otherwise, because when student will enter in the input and if it is correct, then students should see it's correct or not. So I'm using when input 6, I will change it, it's input 5. So input 6 submitted and input 6 script dot correct, because correct is defined for the two values of x. Then it will show the correct. When only submitted not correct, it will ask show them try again. You can edit these messages, you can type whatever message you want. So feedback is actually a variable we have defined using two conditions. Now it should appear in the student's instruction. So again, using two backlashes and a dollar curly parenthesis feedback, and when it's done we can preview it. So we can just press preview button and check in action like this. The question is 5x cubed plus 7x squared minus 5x minus 3. The answer should be 15x squared plus 14x minus 5. If you submit it and if it is correct, you should see the feedback as correct, and teacher can see the check mark on the dashboard. But if it is wrong, then it will only consider one condition from feedback, means it's just submitted, not correct. So it will show you the try again message, and graph is not overlapping. Teacher can see the cross mark, and you can guide and help students to give them feedback. So guys, please try this type of coding and keep practicing. You can leave your message or feedback in the comment box. Thank you.